I am Leanna from Mission Misfit Designs, and welcome to this week's video. This week's video is going to be sort of a sketch along with me while I sketch out an idea that I have for a collection. So my school every year has a fashion show at the end of the spring semester, and while my senior collection will be in this show, I also wanted to create a small 3-piece mini collection based off of a bunch of other things that you will see here in a second, just to kind of make like a space for myself to use some things like unconventional materials, which is something that I love doing, and just kind of use this as an outlet to do something that I've wanted to do for a really long time. So I decided to name this collection Too Much Waste, Not Enough Space. And as you'll see here, I'm doing a lot of just writing in pencil, and I bring out colored pencil at one point, and I have the title at the top in marker. This is what I always do when I'm starting a collection, because maybe it's my brain being weird, but for me, it makes it so much easier for me to plan the collection and design the collection if I have written out like ideas of what I want it to be. And of course, I normally make mood boards. I didn't for this one just because I don't know why. I didn't. But I normally will make a mood board and I'll have all of this stuff written out. I did the same thing with my senior collection, and every piece that I make that has a lot of thought in it, it just helps my brain organize all its thoughts. So I know it's hard to read, so I'm going to read to you what I was just writing. Okay, so I was writing down a small collection of 3 looks made of all unconventional materials, mostly things perceived as trash. We are producing way faster than we could ever safely or responsibly dispose of. These garments are made to represent that. We only have one Earth. We have to protect it. There is no planet B. And then I went into my 3 looks. Look 1 is paper. And for materials, I wrote down recycled promo cards, spray paint, potentially glue, muslin, boning, interfacing, and tulle. Look 2 is plastic. I'm going to use a lot of plastic. I want to make it into yarn. And then once again, muslin, boning, interfacing, and potentially tulle. And then for look 3, I'm calling scrap. And the materials that I wrote down was scraps of fabric, muslin, tulle, boning, and then wires and other electronic bits. So that is the 3 looks that I have planned out. And I don't, as you can see, I just have the materials planned because I wanted to use these unconventional materials. It made a lot more sense to me to plan out the materials and then design the looks based around those materials than to design the look and then figure out what unconventional materials that I wanted, if that makes sense. So for the first look that you see me sketching here, I was sketching paper, and as you'll see, I did draw a line down the paper, and I am drawing a very rough and quick croquis. I was not trying to do anything perfect here. I was just trying to get kind of like a form down so I could do like almost like a flat sketch, not a super detailed sketch or drawing or anything. So yeah, and if you're not aware, a croquis is just like a fashion figure for illustrating. A lot of like fashion designers will draw them, and then we'll draw our sketches on top of them. So that is why I was just drawing a croquis here. And then as you saw, I drew the croquis, I went in, I relaced a lot of my guiding lines, and then I went in again and I erased and lightened my outer lines. So my outer lines are still there, they're just a lot lighter so that I can sketch on top of it with what my design is going to be for this look. So for the look paper, I have been thinking about this since the middle of the summer. We had a bunch of promo cards and stuff at my work that went expired, and I didn't want to throw them away. So what I want to do is create a separate bodice and skirt that are entirely made out of paper. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, and I'm still not entirely sure how I'm going to do it, but I have sketched out here so you can see the bodice and the skirt, and the bodice is they're both made of overlapping pieces of these promo cards sewn together, and then I am going to paint them with spray paint before I sew them, and then potentially splatter paint the dress when it's done, because I don't want to have any brand logos or anything. I really like my job and I'd really like to keep it, so I don't want it to have a brand name plastered all over it. And then as you can see here, I'm doing the same thing for the back that I did for the front. I'm drawing my croquis, and then I'm going to sketch the back on top of it. And yeah. So as you can see for the shape of the dress, I didn't want to do anything crazy. I just wanted like a fitted, corseted style bodice with a little point at the front just to give it a little bit more interest and a little bit more fun. And then just a very simple basic skirt. The reason that I potentially want tulle for this look is I don't necessarily know how secure how much volume and everything that the paper is going to hold on its own, so I might have to use a small tulle skirt underneath of it to help the paper have something to sit on so that it lays nicely and isn't completely flat. Now you can see me writing at the bottom here, I am trying to figure out the back closure. I wasn't entirely sure what to do, and I wrote down a couple different ideas, such as a separate panel that attaches to the back with a piece of Velcro, a lace-up bodice, a zipper, and then hook and eyes for the skirt. So what I decided on, at least for this sketch, was a lace up in the bodice. Again, now that I'm thinking about this, might not be the best idea because pulling on the paper could rip it, but that was kind of the most logical idea that I could come up with, especially for fit. And then for the skirt, I think I did decide on hook and eyes, and again, that is probably going to change when I'm actually making the dress, but I don't know because I haven't made it yet. And then you can see here I'm writing down about the understructure for the dress. So obviously I don't want to just put her in paper. That is not going to be comfortable, so she has to have something underneath of it. I want her to have on a corset that is the same cut of the bodice, so that basic strapless top with the little point at the front, and then of course it's going to lace up in the back and it's going to have boning in it. I'm planning on just using muslin or other scrap fabrics that I have, and then of course I'm going to bone it. And then you'll see me drawing the skirt. The skirt, I just wanted to make a very basic elastic waistband tulle skirt that would have a cotton lining, just like a little short cotton skirt in there, and then an elastic waistband that's covered in a cotton fabric as well, just to make it comfortable so that as minimal paper as possible is actually touching the model, so she can actually be comfortable. But from what the audience will see, they will see a bunch of what looks like trash. So now I'm going in with markers. I was using my Ohuhu markers, and I was using my newer set that I got of them. I got one of the larger sets this year for my birthday, and I was using that to draw here. And as you can see, I have my color sheets laid up behind me. So for the most part, I was just using the Ohuhu markers. I did use pencil to make lines on the bodice, on both the front and the back, to represent just kind of where the cards are. I didn't really feel like drawing every single card and shading it and everything because these are just sketches. They're not necessarily gorgeous illustrations. And as you saw me lift up the paper there, I have a divider that came with my markers that you put in between the page and in between the one page and the next page to help keep the marker from bleeding. And I had forgotten it, but I put it in there so my markers won't bleed onto the next page and I can still use it. But yeah, I'm just coloring it in with a flat gray color, and then I go in with pencil and I add all those lines. This green pencil that I'm using is a Faber-Castell, I think it's a 4B. It's just a very chunky drawing pencil, and then just a normal Ticonderoga number 2 pencil. Yeah, but as you can see, I'm just adding all those lines in, and then in a couple minutes I go in with a pink marker and I add just a bunch of little lines and stuff. It was the best way that I could think to represent splatters without actually getting out paint and splattering the paper. Alright, so as you can see, we are moving on to the next page, starting on look 2. Look 2 is going to be called plastic, and I quite literally want to make this dress entirely crocheted out of plastic. And as you can see here, I am just drawing my croquis again, but as I draw that, I have before taken plastic and cut it into long strips and then used those strips and crocheted with them as though they were yarn. And it does take a little bit, and it is not like as easy as just crocheting with yarn, but it's definitely not that difficult, and it is something that I really want to do on a larger scale. I made a skirt last semester that was like a mesh stitch, like a mesh crochet stitch out of the plastic, so I really want to do something with that again. So this time I decided, why not just do an entire dress? So you'll see I'm kind of just drawing the silhouette here. It is going to have straps just because of it being plastic. I don't know, I kind of wanted it to have straps, just like simple little spaghetti straps that will more than likely be crocheted. As you can see here, I'm erasing everything on the inside, cleaning up my lines on the outside, and then I think I will go ahead and move on to the back. Yeah, I didn't really want anything crazy here. I wanted it to be kind of relatively simple, but because using the material that I'm using, it's going to add so much detail and interest to it on its own that I didn't want to try doing some crazy, insane, like stitch pattern or anything like that. I just wanted it to be a relatively simple, like, okay, this is just a straight dress with this simple stitch pattern, but it's entirely made out of plastic strips, because that adds just, you know, a little bit of interest to it. Yeah, but as you can see here, I'm just drawing the back. It is just kind of, I do really love that like higher neckline in the front and then just a little tiny scoop in the back, and so that's what I'm sketching here, and then sketching out the skirt. So I do write this down in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and just explain it here. I would be using just like a simple single crochet for the bodice until probably about the waist when the skirt starts, and then I would add more stitches and then increase my hook size as well the further I went down the skirt, to help give it some volume and a little bit of like flare, and also just make it a little bit more sheer. Granted, of course, I don't want it to be completely see-through, but she will have undergarments on underneath of it that I will make, that I'll sketch out in a second. So I did want it to be something that, like, you know, it can be see-through because she will have stuff underneath of it, but at the same time, I wanted it to be, you know, at least opaque enough at the bodice and everything to look like she has on an actual garment and not just like a cover-up, and not like I wrapped her in a plastic net. So to mimic the crochet, I just went in with a gray marker, and then I went in with a white gel pen on the front, and I was just doing a bunch of little like squiggles, like little loops, and I did that down the entire front. And then once I finished the front, I didn't necessarily love how the white looked. So for the back of the dress, I just went in with a pencil and I did the exact same technique of just doing those little squiggles, because I wasn't loving the white, so I just went in with a gray pencil on the back. And then as I was doing the back, I totally forgot that the back needed a closure. So what I decided on is that it's going to have a relatively deep V in the back, in the center back, and then that V will have a lace that just laces up. That way it can, one, be adjusted for size, but two, also just make it easier for her to get in and out of. I didn't want it to go all the way down to the bottom because I didn't want it to have a slit in the dress. So that's why I just have that deep V in the back. And then you'll see to the right, just like, okay, so now I'm writing down just about the single crochets and the stitch pattern that I want to use for the dress. And then you'll see here in a second, to the right, I worked on the understructure. It's going to have a very similar corset as the first one without the little V in the front, just a straight across bottom corset, and then the top in the front and the back will match the dress. Just a basic corset that's boned, and then either a circle skirt just to help cover underneath the dress, or she will have a small tulle skirt made of just a couple layers of tulle to, again, give a little bit of volume. And then underneath of all of that, I did write myself a note just saying that the dress will be see-through, so the understructure will be seen, and that I want to make it out of muslin and maybe tulle or a white cotton, but I have a lot of muslin, so that's probably what we're gonna go with. And then for my final look of the collection, I am naming it Scrap. So I'm writing down a bunch of notes to myself because I wasn't as sure with this one what I wanted to do. I wanted to use scrap fabric, potentially scraps from electronics, and I have like a switch for Ethernet cables that I want to turn into a bag. I want to make the textile from very small scraps of fabric that are sandwiched between just a regular piece of fabric and a piece of tulle, and then use a bunch of free motion sewing to secure that all into place. And then underneath of that, I did write, technically this isn't an unconventional material, and that I might again need a very small tulle skirt for volume and to prevent static with the dress, but I also might not. So as you can see, I'm dividing this side into the front and back. I wanted to make this dress is a lot more simple. It is just a very simple baby doll dress, puffy sleeves, high waistline, and then just a pretty, like a relatively short dress with a little bit of volume in it. And I like for the front and the back, it is very simple. And then yeah, so I'm just drawing my croquis here, and then you'll see me sketching that very simple dress here in a second. I do want the dress to just have a basic zipper closure in the back and then let the textile really show. The reason I really wanted to do this collection for part is just for this show. The show is also, the theme is the apocalypse, and the one category is the fall. So it's the fall of society. And I did want to put this collection is going to go into the fall because I feel like it makes perfect sense. It fits so well in just, we are using so much material and so many things that eventually we're not going to have anymore. And we will be forced to go in and reuse all these materials. And I thought this collection would be a really fun way to kind of show that in a little bit more of like a wearable art standpoint, which isn't something I normally do. I normally make all of my garments very ready to wear, very much something you could walk into a store and buy. And these garments are not that. They're not made for real life, except for maybe the baby doll dress, but the plastic and paper aren't made for that. And I kind of have never done that. So this was a great opportunity for me once again, just to do something new. So yeah, I'm very excited to make these garments. I do plan on actually making them. Every collection that I sit down and sketch like this, I don't actually make all the time, but this one I knew I was going to make it when I was sketching it. And yeah. Alright guys, as I finish sketching out this dress, you will see me take just a light blue marker and I will go over and just color the entire thing in with that. And then I take a black colored pencil and I lightly go over with that just to kind of represent the tulle that's going to be on top of the fabric. And I didn't really feel like going in and drawing out the quilted textile, so that's what I ended up doing. But I overall really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you guys liked watching me work on and design this collection. If you guys want more like sketch with me videos like this, please make sure to let me know down below. I would be so happy to do them. I may not be the best artist in the world, but I really love drawing and getting all my ideas out on paper. So I really did enjoy making this. I also am working on my sketching and my illustrating because, well, let's be honest, we all need to work on it. I'm sure every artist needs to work on it. And as a fashion student, I'm always trying to learn and grow. So I really would love to make more videos with you guys like this in the future if you're interested in seeing it. If you guys like the idea for the collection, make sure to like the video and also comment down below if you guys have any ideas that I didn't think of for this. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to my channel as well and share this video if you know anyone else that might enjoy watching it. And I will see you guys next week in the next one. Bye!